It's a little bit longer, but it's not, how can I say it? If you understand the basics of what I went through on Friday, today will be a little bit easier to grasp the concepts that I'm going to go over. Okay? Did we just lose 2 students? Is that what happened?
What do you mean? Online?
No. Okay.
Oh.
Anyway. All right, so financing 1, conventional FHA and V loans. And don't forget, even if we don't finish this today, I have enough days cushion, so what matters to me is that you understand these things. Okay? Let's go to mortgage financing, and we're going to skip a bunch of stuff in this page because my main concern is this right here. It says the amount of a mortgage loan in relation to the value of a home is called the loan to value ratio, LTV. And we're going to start drawing right away.
What page is that?
The first page.
193. Okay.
Highlight that, loan to value ratio. Ryan's online, what's up? And we got somebody else watching as well, but unannounced. All right, cool. So let's go to the whiteboard. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is what the LTV is. If you don't know LTV, you need to really focus, because from now on, everything you do is going to change in terms of financing. Because the bank lends you up to a maximum amount. And the maximum amount is called LTV. And the difference between that amount and the purchase is called down payment. So they'll say, hey, you have 100% purchase price. We'll give you 90%. You got to come up with 10% down payment up front. We'll finance the rest over 30 years. Does that make sense? So you have to understand how this works. It's not that complicated. What you need to really understand is this. You have 100% purchase price, and if they say 90% LTV, LTV, that means that the difference is 10% down payment. Simple as that, right? So if we're going to translate this into numbers, again, we have $100,000. The loan is $90,000. Max loan amount. And the difference is the down payment, which is $10,000 down payment. Good so far? Mm-hmm. Simple, easy, right? So in the state exam, if they ask you a question about LTV and down payments, what you really need to remember is also that these two are interchangeable. These two right here are interchangeable. So what does that mean? It means that if I have 100% purchase price, and they tell you that you need to come up with 3% down payment. Notice that I'm doing everything color-coded so it's easier to recognize, right? So if they ask you for 3% down payment, well, then the loan amount is the difference, 97% LTV. Okay, LTV is always the max loan amount. So in this case, how much do we have to come up with down payment? It's $3,000. How much is the loan amount? $97,000. That's the maximum that they'll lend to you on a $100,000 purchase. Again, as I was saying, these are interchangeable and always based on 100%. So if you bought a house for $300,000, let's say the state average, $300,000, and the down payment was 3%, how much is the loan amount?
See, I wasn't here then. What you saying?
I'm going to put it right here, and you guys are going to calculate it. You have calculators, right, for a mortgage?
The loan would have been
Oh,
89,000.
calculators are in there. Can you get it for me, please? What I was saying was, you're purchasing for 300,000.
Mhm.
That is the purchase price,
Right.
and you have a 3% down payment. My question is, what is
Thank
the loan amount?
you. 270.
I'm thinking that.
You're in
What
the
is
math?
3% of 300,000?
You don't need the 3% of 300,000. What you need to remember is that 3% equals
9,000.
97. It's 9,000, but
So the
3%
loan
equals
amount is
97%
291.
So just say
LTV.
300,000 minus 9,000.
How much you say?
291.
291,000.
Another way to remember, which would probably be easiest in this case, is if you multiply these, it gives you the answer of the down payment. 3 times 3 is 9, so this is $9,000 down payment.
Minus that.
So 300 minus 9,000. But we're going to get into math in a totally different chapter. My point here was for you to remember this portion right here, which is 100% purchase price minus the loan equals down payment. 100% purchase price minus down payment equals loan. So that's what you have to always remember. And the questions are just like I told you. They ask you $300,000 purchase price. If you put 3% down payment, how much is the loan amount? So they're not asking you what's the 3%. You don't need to know the 3%. So in the example I gave you, what you needed to remember is that 3% equals 97 loan. That's what you need to remember here. So instead of calculating the 9,000, you could have gone straight to 97% of 300,000. Does that make sense? Yes?
Yes.
Good. Questions? Katie? Good? Good, good. All right. Good?
Yeah.
All right. So I have to look like this because then Elle thinks I'm talking to her.
I think you're doing evil. I think you have to.
All right. Back to the book. So here, we're going to skip all this where it says mortgage financing. We're going to skip that and we're going to go straight to payment plans. Ready? What are payment plans? It's how they structure the loan itself. So there's different types of loans we're going to talk about later, about conventional, FHA, and VA loans, right? And how they're structured. So these are types. But how they're structured could be fixed or variable. Under fixed loans, right, we're going to have, I'm going to go into that in a second. I'm just giving you a preview, right? So under fixed loans, we have fully amortized, partially amortized, and we have straight loans or term loans under fixed. Under adjustable, we have something very similar to it. So, but you have to understand how fixed works before we get to the variable ones. Because variable is where everybody's going to get lost. I guarantee you that.
I like that word, amortize.
You like the word amortize?
Yeah, I want to do it to someone to kill off. Somebody.
You want to do it with
Yeah,
somebody?
It's so bad.
You're going to go on the street, you're going to look at, hey, I'm going to amortize you. That's what you're going to do.
I just like the word.
Gotcha. Where do you live? You know what I mean? Tough. It is a cool word because it could be interpreted in different ways.
I know.
You know?
Intelligent way to tell somebody about to lock them off.
No, but she said she
It's
knows.
zooming. Yeah, it's help me. It's zooming.
I'm helping you. I just want to show you something since you like the word so much. Based on what we said yesterday, mort from mortgage means death, or in this case, to kill off slowly over time, right?
Yesterday?
Well, not yesterday.
Friday.
Sorry, Friday, previous chapter. I don't have days, so it's tough. But I want to show you, did I ever tell you that, or did you ever hear that there's a very thin line between love and hate? Right? Hate kills, but love kills as well. Let me show you this. So this is Latin for death. Right? We got it?
Amor. Love.
Love. In the same word, it depends on how you interpret this. But either way, it kills you off slowly over time. Either way.
So simple.
Simple, right? So you can read it whatever way. You love this word, didn't you? You loved it because it has love in it, and it
Yeah.
has,
And it has kill.
yeah. And you
that's
love to
Latin
kill.
for love?
Yeah.
Amor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy, right? Anyway, the things you pick up.
Or something.
And my son has nothing else to do.
Oh.
Go call Pops to somebody else. Pops. I just dropped him off in Philadelphia.
He lives in Philly?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You drove to Philly, huh? How's that?
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I still made it kind of on time before you guys. Just two people here.
Oh, yeah, school, okay. That's right.
Yeah. All right. So as we figured out, amortize means to kill off slowly over time. So if we have a loan for 30 years, that means your payment slowly reduces the principal over time. And by the time you get to the last payment, the balance should be 0. Does that make sense? So that's what amortize means. Elfrida. That's what amortize means. Now, at the end of the term, the full amount of the principal has been paid off, and these are also called self-liquidating loans. Here on the right-hand side, we have fixed rate loans. That's where we're gonna start. But I want to show you something real quick before we start that. In your book, you can probably see a little bit better. But it says here principal and interest on a 30-year mortgage, and it says payment amount, right? So you borrowed $300,000 over 30 years. What I want you guys to notice is this curve right here, right? And then I want you to notice this one right here. The dark gray represents interest. The light gray represents principal. So if you guys look at it, every payment you make, in the first years, only a small portion, right, goes towards, it's like a snowball effect, more and more over the years, but only a small portion goes towards the principal. Most of your payments are interest right here. It's very sad. What you need to remember, and we're going to go over this in a later chapter, is that interest is paid based on the amount of time that you use it. Okay? So if you use the interest, let's say you pay it off, we talked about prepayment penalties, right? If you pay off the loan right here, then the only interest you paid was whatever's on this box. You guys got it? Yes? So that means you saved all this money right here in interest. You didn't have to pay that. Everything else was principal. Just like your credit cards, do you guys send minimum payments or a little bit more? You can be honest. It depends, right? But you try to send more. Why do we try to send more?
Credit score.
To save, no, it's to save on this, so you don't pay interest. Your score will automatically grow if you do that way, but it's to save interest, because if you carry the credit card, let's say you borrowed $200. If you just make the minimum payments, it'll take you 16.74 years, so almost 17 years, to pay off $200. If you send just the minimum payment, 16.74 years, not months. And now they're required, after a lawsuit, they're required to disclose that on every statement. So if you guys look at your credit card statement, it says if you pay the minimum, this is how long it's going to take. If you put an extra $10 and just give you a random number, If you put an extra $10, let's say, this is how long it's going to take. You guys got it?
Mhm.
But it's very important because it's the usage of somebody else's money. That's what interest is, right? So if you guys notice, also, sorry, it takes roughly 21 years for this to become even. So that means that only the last 9 years of your loan are principal. The first 21 years were mainly interest. The longer you keep, the worse it is. But because we're professional renters, meaning we got used to it, our monthly payment is our rent. And you rent for 30 years somebody else's money. Are you guys understanding what I'm trying to say? So educate your people and yourselves, because you can help a lot of people by prepaying interest, or principal in this case, right? And I'm going to show you a few ways to do it. But by prepaying, in a couple of years, what can they do? Leverage their equity. We're going to talk about that in investments. They can leverage their equity to buy a second home, a third home, a fourth home. You guys got it? Don't treat your mortgage as a rental, because that's the biggest mistake. That's sending the minimum in your credit cards. Got it? Good. Any questions?
So instead of investing in a 401k, invest in your mortgage?
First of all, I don't like investments in 401ks. Big no-no, because in 2008 they became 201ks. They were slashed by 47%, right? So it's a variable product and they're betting your money, right? So when you put the money into 401k, you get a certificate to company money. It's not your money. Your money is being given to the company to play with it. Now, if the company matches dollar for dollar up to a certain amount, that's what you put in, because that's free money. You got it? Anything above that is just a waste of money. Unless you have plenty of money to throw around, then
Throw some over here.
throw some over here, right? But there's other products that'll be more secure than the 401k. Prepaying this, obviously you're building equity, it's yours, it's not going to go anywhere. If the prices, the houses drop, yeah, you get hit just like a 401k, but at least it's yours. You see what I'm saying? The 401k is somebody else's money, it's the company money. So, fixed rate loans, let's start with this. I want you to write in front of fixed rates, I want you to write long-term loans. I want you to think of this as long-term. Because every product is good. Every business is good. There's a lot of people say, oh, MLMs, those are bad. Multi-level marketing, as an example. Well, some of them are good. Actually, the majority of them are good. Otherwise, we wouldn't have some people making millions of dollars. I've had people that join, and this is just to give you an idea of what I'm trying to get with this. And once you see the next one, you'll understand why. There's a lot of people that say, Herbalife, no good. It's no good for me. But for the people that understand the business and have the time to do the business, it's great for them. That's why they've made multimillionaires. Does that make sense? You talk about 401ks. No good. There's people that say no good. I didn't say it was no good. I said it was great if they do this and they do that, right? Great products. There's people that say mutual funds, no good. Yeah, they're good. The problem is if you're not aggressive with your money, right? You're at the chance of also losing all your money. That's the problem. There's always a good product for everybody, and we need to understand. Some people say single families, no good. I'll show you that single families are great, but I prefer multifamily. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So these are things I'm trying to say, because this is a great program for somebody that's going to be here long term. The other ones, people usually talk about them really bad. The adjustable rates, like stock market. I don't bet in the stock market because I know I'm going to suck at it. I don't have the time to be monitoring the stock market. Does that make sense? But some people make a whole lot of money. The day traders, they make a whole lot of money, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for now, I want you to think of this, when you educate people, think of this as long-term loans, or intended for long-term. So we start with fully amortized loan. A fully amortized loan is the most frequently used plan. That's what most people know, because it requires the mortgagor to pay a constant amount usually each month. Who is the mortgagor? Say it.
Me.
You are the mortgagor? Us. The borrower, the owner, is the mortgagor. Who's the mortgagee? The lender. So what it says here is that the mortgagee credits each payment first to the interest due and then applies the balance to reduce the principal. So first towards interest, then towards principal. With each payment is this, while each payment is the same, the portion applied towards repayment of the principal grows and applied to the interest due declines, as I just showed you in the figure above. As you make the payments, it's the same payment, but it's either applied more towards principal or less towards interest as it goes. Next, we have straight payment plans. We can actually, straight just means term loan. We can actually skip this for now. I want you to go to the last one. And it says, when the mortgage loan requires periodic payments, please underline that do not fully amortize the amount of the loan. Underline that do not fully amortize the amount of the loan. What does it mean, the word amortize? Kill slowly. So what we're saying is, you have your payment, but your payment is not enough to fully kill the loan. Does that make sense? Next page. By the time that the final payment is due, then the final payment is larger amount than the others. Please highlight, underline, put stars. Hey, Lucy. It says this is called a balloon payment. And this type of loan is called a partially amortized loan. So fully amortized, let's go back to the whiteboard.
I got confused. What is this payment plan? Payment plan? It's just saying that if you don't pay.
There's different payment plans. There's fixed, there's adjustable, there's interest only. Now we're into the section that we're at is the fixed rate, where the interest rate does not change. So we talked about fully amortized that's what I'm going to show right now, and the partially amortized I'm going to show right after.
That one I got it, but what is this straight plan, like payment
I
plan?
told you to skip that one. It's a term loan,
Oh.
but we're going to skip for now.
Okay.
So let's say you borrow $300,000, okay, for 30 years, and your payment is $1,500 a month. In a fully amortized loan, your first payment is $1,500 a month. Your second payment is $1,500 per month, and your final payment. Did this just convert to a?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There you go. I love it. 1,500. When I want it to do things, it doesn't. And then right here, your last payment that brings the balance to zero is still 1,500. So it hasn't changed. This is the example of a fully amortized. That means your payment is consistent from beginning to end. It does not change. Good so far?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to erase this. A partially amortized loan is where you borrow $200,000, $300,000 is the same numbers for 30 years. The difference is we're going to amortize on 200. We amortize on 200. What does that mean?
Everything's gonna stay consistent for the 200,000.
Correct. So that means that your payments, let's say it's $1,000 a month, $1,000 a month. But once we reach the last payment, is it going to be 1,000?
No.
No. The last payment is going to be the gap right here. And this gap is 100,000. So this is going to go right here. That is your last payment. So for 30 years, for example, your payment was 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. Your last payment is the balance of the loan. What is the balance of the loan? Whatever it didn't amortize. $100,000.
Is it a good or bad to do that?
It depends. See, that's the thing. It's
Not
great
really?
depending on the situation. Why? Because you're saving money every month.
Yeah, and interest.
And guess what? You get here, somewhere on the 15th year, and you expect the property value to have increased. Right? So value.
Mhm.
Right? So if the property value increased, you could at the 15th year refinance and your final payments to reach zero, so you have a truly fully amortized loan now,
Mhm.
your final payments to reach zero, right, now that you have a new loan, final payment to reach zero is going to stay at $1,000 a month. So you're saving up front, but you're paying extra interest. So it's a trade-off. Does that make sense?
But how do you know the value's gonna go up?
It should,
Oh.
if you put money
Just
in.
hope.
Of course, never mind.
Okay.
Forget it.
Most likely, it doesn't always go up though.
No, because in 2009, people that got into loans like this, in 2009, they saw their value go even below what they had purchased for.
Can you make payments towards the non-amortized amount?
Amortized, you can make payments always towards the principal amount. So remember this. First, you have to make payments towards this principal amount here. What is this principal amount? Whatever's being amortized.
Okay.
You cannot make payments directly to the non-amortized.
Okay.
Right? I mean,
You'll have to
if the
save
lender
it.
accepts, then it's up to the lender. But traditionally, this is what's being amortized, this is what you pay off.
Okay.
You guys got it? Okay. So that was the benefit, or one of the benefits of this type of loan. Is a low payment, and then hopefully later on increases in value. You refinance and you maintain for the next 15 years, or if you extend for another 30 years, you maintain the low payments. Good?
Mhm.
Okay. So they call it balloon payments because it's an inflated payment. Instead of $1,000, it's an inflated amount that you have to pay. It's a balloon. You guys got it?
Mhm.
So partially amortized or balloon payments, it's the same thing. Questions?
No.
Great. Next we have biweekly mortgages. Sometimes the loan structure is biweekly. What does that mean? It means that you pay every 2 weeks. Right? That's all it is. But not all loans are biweekly, as we just went over. Fully amortized, partially amortized, it could be on a monthly basis. But you have an option always to send extra payments. They might not allow you to pay every 2 weeks, but they allow you to send extra payments. And I'm going to show you how to make those extra payments and fall under the every 2 week category. You guys ready? Great. Let me just read this real quick. Biweekly mortgages involve half payments every 2 weeks instead of monthly. Some borrowers misunderstand this as twice a month. Very wrong. It involves 26 half payments. That's the equivalent of 13 months. So the extra money applied entirely to the principal, as we're talking right now, can reduce a time on a fixed rate loan from 30 years down to 22 or 23. So let's look at this. How many weeks do we have in the year? 52, right? These are called calendar weeks. Okay? Now, what we're talking about right now is monthly payments. How many months do we have in the year? 12. Okay, so I'm not going to write it yet. But we have 12 months. For accounting purposes, they make it, those 12 months, they make it 30 days each. They don't see a distinction of what's one extra day or one less day, one extra week or one less week. They don't see a distinction of that. So they assume that every year is 12 months, right? Times 4 weeks. This is equal to 48 accounting weeks. And that's where it makes a difference. Because if we pay calendar years, calendar years versus accounting years, we have an extra 4 weeks. And based on what we just said, each month is 4 weeks,
Yeah.
each month. So this means it equals 1 extra month. You got it?
I never do.
You never do?
I never do. You
All right,
explained
so
this
wait,
in
so wait.
classes.
Let's look at this. That's fine. If we talk about splitting the payment in two, there's 52 weeks, right? We divide this by 2. It equals 26 payments. Good so far?
Mhm.
Okay. Let's say your monthly payment, your monthly payment is $1,500 a month. That's your payments. Good so far? Yes? That means if we have monthly payments in the regular structure, this would be,
39,000.
hold on, let me actually bring it here. So 1,500 times 12 months equals,
39K.
are you okay?
Wow. Total.
I mean, give it a try. 15,000 times 12. You good? All right. So, 15,000 times 12 is 18,000. But let's say you split in half the payment, so it's 750. Did I change your monthly payment? I didn't. So let's time it times 26 payments because it's 26 weeks. I didn't change the payment?
What?
Well, oh yeah, you changed the amount that you pay towards the loan. I make my payments bi-weekly, that's why.
Okay.
But it's $750.
What's the difference?
The difference is 1 extra payment.
1 extra.
Monthly
Month.
payment, yeah.
I know, handwriting horrible. Don't look at my handwriting like that. She's like, "Yeah."
No, I see clearly.
Fine. I'm practicing my Mandarin, I told you. Extra payment. Right there. Boom. Did you understand why? No. There's a big difference. Let's go back
You know
to
what?
this.
It might be easier to show her on a calendar because 4 weeks is actually 28 days, which in some months is 30 days, some months is 31 days. There's only 1 month with 28 days. So maybe that will make more sense when you see it.
And some weeks have 5 weeks, some months have 5 weeks and some don't.
5 full, well, no.
No.
4.5
Never
weeks.
4, never
It's
4,
like-
never 5 full weeks, but
Yeah, it's like 4 weeks, 3 days, or 4 weeks, 4 days.
Yeah.
Or something like
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's almost a full week. But if we had 13 months, it would almost be even. Okay. Where did you get lost?
The math, how you just,
These are Jedi mind tricks. It's not for everybody. I bent your payment.
But like when you take longer to pay, like for example, there's 750 and 26 months.
No, 26 payments. This is weekly. Look what we did. We
Okay,
did for
weekly.
from 1 year, right? You guys need to look at this. For 1 year, what did I do? I applied 52 calendar weeks versus the 48 accounting.
how are you splitting?
I was gonna say
I'm just dividing by 2 because it's half payments, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay, 52 times divided by 2 is what?
I'm sorry. Repeat that again. I was
52.
wrong.
52 divided by 2 is 26.
Uh-huh.
If you were to do 48 divided by 2, how much would that be?
24.
Okay.
24, right? There's a difference.
Okay, I was gonna say that when you take longer to pay, the interest increases, right?
The longer you take, the interest is pre-calculated based on you taking the whole 30 years to pay. So the interest does not increase. But if you pay sooner, you pay less interest.
So you're saying it's like credit cards.
Right.
If you send the money before the cycle ends,
we're not to that yet. I just want to show you first why biweekly is different than monthly.
And so I still.
I'm gonna get into the sending extra payment in a second.
So
What didn't you get?
For me, that's what you're doing. You're paying the
It is-
750,
Mm.
and then you're sending the extra part.
No.
In the,
No.
After,
The thing is that instead of the traditional accounting months,
uh-huh.
I'm going by calendar weeks or calendar months. So there's extra days, there's extra weeks. There's 4 extra weeks, that's why I was showing you here.
The remainders.
There's 4 extra
Just
weeks.
because.
You get paid bi-weekly? Great. So it's every 2 weeks.
Mhm.
It's not 2 times a month.
Mhm.
There's a difference between 2 times a month or twice a month, right? And bi-weekly. Bi-weekly, you get paid an extra month.
Yeah, no, you do.
You do.
Yeah. You get an extra paycheck, yeah.
Because there's some months with 5 weeks and some with a 4. There's an extra month. There's 4 months in the year. There's 4 months in the year that have 5 weeks.
If you look at it as days, right? So this month has, say 1 month has 28 days, 1 month has 30 days. So what he's saying, if you count 30 days, right, there's a remainder in some months,
Right.
and some months is less. So what he's doing is adding them up at the end and saying, and it adds up to 2 weeks. And that's what he's kind of
The
saying.
extra weeks.
Yeah, the extra weeks. It
Okay.
adds up to 2 weeks.
So that's similar to that, because there's, like, I got it?
All right. If I
No
okay,
lie.
wait. If I calculate your salary right now,
Uh-huh.
you don't have to give me numbers, but let's say your salary is $1,000 a week, right? If you get paid bi-weekly, that means you get paid $2,000 every 2 weeks,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So in your math, and go to the calculator real quick, in your math, you're saying that you make $4,000 a month. Is that what you're saying? Because if you get paid twice a month, it's different than getting paid every 2 weeks. Do the math. If you do 2 weeks, every 2 weeks you get paid $2,000, right? You ready? Times 2, times 12.
Mhm.
So that's 2 payments a week, 2 payments per month, times 12 months. What is the number you got?
48,
How much?
48.
48,000. Now let's go back. You get paid bi-weekly. How many weeks do we have in the year?
Calendar ones or?
Calendar, that's what I'm trying to get at. Calendar months.
52?
52.
Oh, because it divided by 2 and I'll look at
Yeah, there's a total of 52 calendar weeks.
Mhm.
You got it?
Yeah.
You give me the yes, like, yes or no?
Yeah, sure.
No, she don't.
Do you know how many calendar weeks we have or no?
Yeah, 52.
So,
We get in there.
okay,
Okay.
52. If you get paid bi-weekly, divide that by 2. How many weeks do you have? 52 divided by 2.
26.
There's 26. That means you receive, guys, that means you receive 26 payments, salary,
Okay.
right?
Mhm. Instead of 24.
Instead of 24. So if you do 26 payments right now, times 2,000,
Uh-huh.
calculator, 26 times 2,000.
Mhm. 52.
I just gave you a raise of $4,000 by not changing much. You see what I'm saying? You get an extra payment at the end of the year. That's why a lot of people make a mistake even when they calculate their salary. They're thinking 4 weeks. You have to multiply always by 52 weeks. Whatever your weekly base is, times 52. There's a lot of people that do times 4 and then times 12. That's not your wages. Times 52, so you get paid a little bit more. Did you get it now?
Yeah.
You sure?
I don't think she did.
I don't mind explaining it
What
again.
is half payment? What does that mean? What's half payment?
Half payments?
Yeah.
Right here. This is a full payment. It's 1,500 times 12.
No,
And this is half payment.
I got it.
It's
Okay.
$750 every 2 weeks. All we did was divide the payment into 2, but because there's an extra 2 payments, there's an extra 2 payments at the end of the year, based on calendar weeks, right? we gain an extra month, an extra 1,500. 750 plus 750.
Because financially, you are still paying the same exact amount for the month
Mm-hmm.
based on calendar weeks. But
Correct.
it's the calendar weeks and the calendar weeks that makes the difference.
Mm-hmm. That's why I started off with this. Calendar weeks versus accounting weeks, how they do it for accounting purposes. All right?
But then in 1 month, you're gonna pay more than 750.
Never.
No,
It's always
never.
750 because you pay every 2 weeks. Forget the month now. We went to biweekly.
Yeah, you can pay bi-weekly, but then in 1 month, you're gonna have,
Only 2 payments. It's the same $1,500, but you pay, instead of paying $1,500
it's
on the
like my
first.
payment, there's 1 month, sometimes you get paid, like, let's
No,
go-
but with the loan, if it's $1,500, your payment is still gonna be $1,500 for the month. But instead of paying it all on the first,
Okay.
you're gonna pay half on the first and half on the
You
15th.
shouldn't get it. If I
I
get paid.
okay. Stop right there. Stop right
You're
there.
thinking about
She's not
payroll.
right. She's not right.
No, she's
She's
right.
confused.
No, she's right.
Some
in a
payments
way.
will
She's thinking
fall.
about her payroll now.
Your
But
payroll.
think
Yeah,
about it like a
because
loan.
if you
You don't get
compare
paid
it to
the-
my payroll,
No.
then you have,
But she just don't understand
No.
the end of it.
No. What will happen is sometimes your payment will fall. 3 payments will fall sometimes on the same month,
Payroll.
Sometimes.
On a payroll.
but not always. It will sometimes fall because it's every 2 weeks, and because certain months have 5 weeks, eventually one payment is going to overlap between 1 month and the other.
Do you still have to pay?
She said, no, listen,
You
hold on,
didn't
wait.
get it.
She said 1 month you're gonna pay more. She's right, but she just don't understand what the more is. The more is the
750.
extra payment
No.
towards your mortgage to help pay.
Okay.
the
Pull up a
interest.
calendar.
So let
Yeah, I think
no.
the calendar.
So let me
calendar
show
will
you.
really- I'm telling you, the calendar will really help us.
So let me show you something. Let me just show you something.
She said it.
Every month, under that concept, every month we're sending an extra payment. Every single month. Your monthly payment did not change because I divided by 2, right? But being paid bi-weekly because some months overlap, it's the same thing as dividing this by 12. Simple. How much is 1,500 divided by 12? Every month, you're sending an extra? So what's changing your payment by doing bi-weekly, what's changing your payment is that every month you're sending an extra $125 towards the principal. You got it? So it's either, this is what you guys need to think, and I really want you to focus so we can move forward, but here's what you need to think. By doing bi-weekly, you don't have to worry about sending extra money, all right? Because it becomes part of your, it's like budgeting, meaning $750 out of your paycheck goes straight to that, every paycheck. So you don't have to worry about budgeting. Good so far? If you don't want to think about doing bi-weekly because you have other stuff in between, then think that every month you have to send an extra $125. If you don't want to think about the extra $125, then at the end of the year, you have to send an extra $1,500. Either way, every month you're sending more. Either way. Whether you're putting aside or sending in or putting bi-weekly, it's the same $1,500. You guys got it? So every month you're sending more by doing the bi-weekly. Because, especially because of the overlaps, you start right away in January. In January, you don't get paid twice, but when it gets to February, it overlapped 1 week from January and the first week of February. And it piggybacks like that, well, forward. Does that make sense? No?
I'm gonna bring my payroll calendar tomorrow and I'll show you.
You have a payroll calendar?
I do payroll.
Ah, there you go.
But then she'll be able to see months versus weeks. I do accounting also, so
Oh yeah,
bring that one too.
Payroll.
Calendar, yeah.
There's
Go
an extra.
do paycom, yeah, do payroll calendar.
That's calculator. Okay.
Right, there you go.
I'll look at the
Which one is?
Anyone. Do the first one right there, yeah.
Not 2014.
It don't really, it doesn't.
Okay. State of New Jersey happens to be. Payroll calendar.
That one might not be good because it doesn't have like bi-weekly or, but whatever.
All because of New Jersey?
Alright, see, May, for example, if I pay my mortgage on the 1st, and then on the 15th, and then I have to pay again on the 29th. So, you're basically sending an extra payment, that's what I was saying.
Nope, because it's missing from the previous ones.
What previous ones?
That's why we don't have
Like
this is not good
May
because it
and
doesn't
This
show
one
you,
is not
doesn't show you
good.
the weeks.
That's why that one is not good.
There's 52 weeks. If you divide that by 4, what are you gonna get?
52 by 4. That's 20.
13. 13 months. That's what it is.
Oh,
Oh, so there's the 2 extra payments, I'm saying,
Da-da-da.
got it.
The
That's what I was
cookies are
thinking.
25 cents each. I was waiting for Elle to go like, oh, I hit 6.
Elle's sleeping now. Sorry, Elle?
All right,
Now I got it.
did you guys get it now?
I got it.
We good?
Because you the show
Like, it
me.
doesn't matter if anyone doesn't get it, I got it.
I got it, right? Anyway,
The calendar makes more sense.
It does.
I still don't know what I showed because I said 52 divided by 4. That's what triggered. I still don't see anything here different than what I was saying. But if you can, definitely get me
No, I'm gonna
a,
bring that.
even if I have to use it for a
Pay-
future
pay
class.
$5. No, you can, yeah.
I got a big screen where everybody can see it. Oh my God. Never use state of New Jersey payroll.
Yeah, no, that wasn't a good one.
Yeah, that was bad.
Oh,
But it
I-
worked.
I just saw. Yeah,
Can't say
whatever.
that was
Sometimes
good.
you
It
Wait
worked.
a minute.
That's what it worked.
right. Sometimes you have to physically see the weeks
I still don't see what was there.
because if she's paid every other Friday or Thursday, she saw the months where there were 3 highlighted Fridays.
Mhm.
Like the
versus
green
2.
ones. The green part
See?
was what I was getting paid. And then when you said divided by 4, and then you said the 13, I was like, okay, so the extra 2 months that we get, that we have to pay, for example, is just the extra month. You know? I just didn't get it.
She got it now.
All right.
Stop it.
She got She got it now.
She got it now. All right, cool. The 3 people watching from home, did you get it? There's nothing wrong. That's why I like to spend time here until you guys get it, because it does make a difference. It's like sending the extra payment, and I like to show the difference here, where it's either $750 a month, I'm sorry, bi-weekly, or the 1 extra payment, or the monthly $125.
I think the problem.
But this is
that-
just principal and interest, by the way.
I think the problem is that this 750 bi-weekly is like, it's not really bi-weekly, it's just like twice a month.
No, it's actually the opposite. It's not twice a month, because then you would only have 24 payments. There's two extra payments every year. That's why the twice a month does not work. Most people get paid, that's why we always ask, do you get paid bi-weekly? When you do application for credits, they ask you, do you get paid bi-weekly or twice a month?
Or weekly.
No, I know, but when it comes
So which is faster?
to 2 payments, right? And that's always made, even for me, younger years, made me confused. Like twice a month or bi-weekly is the same thing. It wasn't until later also that I realized, wait, there's a difference between
So
accounting
which is quicker, like twice a month or
bi-weekly,
bi-weekly?
because there's extra weeks.
Oh yeah.
So it's
So
always
there's like
quicker.
3 extra days or 4 extra days.
Yeah. And sometimes bi-weekly is 3 weeks, 3 payments. I don't know if you get.
Because it overlaps.
Excuse me.
Excuse.
So you're saying whoever gets paid like every Friday, they have
2 extra payments.
Every Friday or every other Friday?
Every Friday or every other Friday.
every Friday.
Oh.
They still
Then they have 4 extra payments.
Oh, because of the okay.
Every other Friday, you get 2 extra payments. If you get paid twice a month, you get 2 less payments.
So the 2 months you end up getting it is what, May and
May and October.
Well, it depends.
It depends.
It
Yeah,
depends.
because everybody don't get paid on
Yeah.
Oh, this one, yeah.
pay period,
Yeah.
every job.
When you start working, when you don't start working. It depends also now, we have an extra day this month.
I got paid in Thursday.
You guys good?
Got it.
All right.
Finance lesson, man.
It makes a huge difference when you understand the financing side of it versus everybody thinks that the finances are based on calendar. No. It's 12 months of 30 days each or 4 weeks. Flat. Huge difference.
That right there is worth the enrollment fee for this class right there.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Because
No,
it's
seriously,
the same exact
Oh.
payment, but
No, because
to me, that makes more sense because you don't have to come up with it all at once. You can pay half and you still,
that makes sense to me. But a lot of people don't understand that sending the extra makes a huge
it
difference.
makes a huge difference.
But again, if you want on your monthly payment, you want to come up with an extra, like I said, divide whatever your principal interest is, divide by 12. That's how much you have to come up with extra. But if you know how to budget yourself out of every paycheck, take a cut for whatever your expenses are.
Yeah, when you think about it, just take it out.
No,
It
I'm
makes
just saying.
sense, yeah.
And,
Even with credit
and by
cards
doing this,
too.
with credit cards as well, and by doing this, you can go from a 30-year loan down to a 22 or 23-year loan, or even more.
Paying the same
That's-
exact amount,
That's paying the same exact amount. If you can afford to send more,
it's even better.
even better. That's why I traditionally don't like people to refinance to a 15-year mortgage, because then it's your higher payment. If this month you cannot send, you're screwed. But if I can have a 40, 50, or 100-year mortgage, it's really low payments. This month I can send an extra $5,000, I'll send an extra $5,000. Next month I cannot, I can only send $1,000. Well, that's my mortgage payment, I'm okay. I don't really agree with people refinancing to a short period of time. And there's a lot of people who do this. Oh, I want to pay faster. Yeah, I mean, you can. But if you don't know how to budget yourself,
Don't make sense.
it doesn't make sense. All right? I can have a 1,000-year mortgage on it
A 1,000 years? Yeah.
because I can pay it off in the same 15. It's just the fact that my months are flexible, especially as independent when you're a business owner. This month is great, next month sucks. Does that make sense?
No, it's true.
Right, it makes a huge difference. Anyway, next we have adjustable rate mortgages. Adjustable rate mortgages. I want you to write intended for short term. Intended for short term. Wow. Kevin brought his notebook today. Wow. The day he doesn't need much? Well, you're gonna need it because we're gonna draw stuff. No. But the quiz day is asking for paper. Anyway, adjustable rate mortgages. If it's adjustable, right, fixed rate is the same payment every month. If it's adjustable rate mortgage, what happens to your payments?
Goes up and down.
Goes what?
Up and down.
Up and down, it fluctuates.
Yeah,
Correct, right? It's variable. Now, it says right here that adjustable rate mortgages, or ARMs, shift the risk or reward of changing interest rates from the lender to the borrower with corresponding changes in monthly payment. The risk or reward. So if you guys look at fixed rate, look at me for a second. Fixed rate is your monthly payment is the same every month. But we know market changes, right? Stock market, up and down. So in the fixed rate payment, this is your mortgage, and this is what's happening in the market, right? And the bank deals with it. If the interest rates go high, the bank takes a loss. If interest rates go low, the bank has a gain. Here, as it says, they shift the risk or the rewards to you. So this is your monthly payment. If market goes up, so does your payment. Market comes down, so does your payment. And you see that there's a gap here in between your payment and the market? That gap, we're going to go over all this in a second. That gap is called margin. This is what the bank gets paid. It's the difference between market rate, right, and your payment. That's what the bank gets paid. If it goes up, it's the same. If it comes down, it's the same. It doesn't change that percentage that's between, or that gap that's between market and your payment. You guys got it? Good so far? Great. Now, it says here that ARM shifts the risk of changing interest rates to the borrower, who also stands to benefit if the rates drop. there's something called adjustment period. And the adjustment period is the anniversary on which interest rate adjustments are made. And the concept is very simple. If we have here, let's say this is the index. So here is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And this is just to make it easier instead of going one by one, right? 12, 14, 16. And here, so this is the index on this side. And here we have 6 months, 12 months, 18, 24. And then this is just assuming that the adjustment period, which we're going to talk about, the adjustment period is every 6 months. That means every 6 months it adjusts 30. And these are months. What happens to the market is, let's say you started off your loan at 2. It went up, and it went down, it went up, it went down, it went up, and it kept on going this. Because this is what happens in the stock market. The index goes up and down. Good so far?
Yeah.
Great. In the fixed rate, you don't have to worry about this, as I said. Doesn't matter what happens to the market, your payment is 5% for 30 years. In an adjustable rate, your rate changes according to this red line right here. Now imagine your rate changing every day, because stock market changes every day. In fact, every minute, right? This could be the look of every minute. Smaller every minute, right? What we're going to do here is assume that every 6 months there's an adjustment period. So that means that for 6 months your payment is locked to an interest, in this case 4. 6 months later, in this case it would be 3. 6 months later, does that make sense? It's at 10. So your rates lock every 6 months. We call that, again, adjustment period. Why do we do this? So you don't have to get hit with the daily changes. We lock, let's say, at 3% for 6 months. And the following 6 months is at whatever percentage. And the following 6 months at whatever percentage. You guys got it? So you know that for at least 6 months, my payment is X amount of dollars. For at least 6 months. But I don't know later how much it's going to be. But right now, I'm safe. Every 6 months. The adjustment period could be for 3, 5, or even 10 years. So you could be locked for a whole 10 years. Good so far? Great. I'm sorry, missed something at the bottom. Oh, index. Index, I already told you, is that red line. You can call it stock market. You can call it whatever you want, and that's what the interest rates will be based on. That red line that goes up and down. Next we have margin. Before you guys highlight, right here, somewhere here, I want you to write, this is what the bank gets paid. This is what the bank gets paid. Why is this important? Because it says right here that if treasury bills are the chosen index, and they're selling at 2%, then the loan is, at the time the loan is adjusted, the borrower pays, please highlight, underline, put a star, the borrower pays a specific percentage rate above that index. And this is called margin. So with a 2% margin over the treasury bills, the borrower will be charged 4%. So let's look right here. Index started right here at 2. You got the loan today at two index, right? But is that your interest? No. Your interest is those two index, so the market, plus 2 margin, what the bank gets paid, okay? So how much is your interest? Your interest is 4% interest. Because it's the 2 index where we are right here, right? Plus the fixed margin gives you your interest rate. Good so far? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so interest rates went up. 6 months later, interest rate went up, right, to 3. Is that correct? Okay. So interest rate went up to 3. That means we erase this because index is now 3. What happens to your interest?
Goes up.
It goes up. Instead of 4, it's now
Like,
5. Did margin change? Margin does not change. It's steady over the lifetime of the loan. Okay? 6 months later, what happened? Well, actually went up to 4, now we went down to 3. Okay. But on the 18th month, so the third adjustment, what happened to the rate?
Goes up.
It went up. It went up to 10. So that means 10. How much is your new interest? 12? Now, you said steep, right? How would you feel about it? If your rate went from, at the time was 3, so 5, from 5 to 10, if you had that huge jump, how would you feel about it? Your payment went from $1,000 to $1,500, let's say. How would you feel about it? Horrible, right? It's called something called payment shock. The way you reacted, oh my God, it's payment shock. That's what it's called. So in order to prevent payment shock, are you guys all with me so far?
Mhm.
El?
I'm with you.
Okay, thank you. I'm with you too. So, in order to prevent payment shock, they created something called cap. So there's a storyline now. You need to follow me on this. There's a storyline. They created cap in order to prevent the payment shock that, oh my God, $500 extra or $1,000 extra, right? So the cap is just like putting a cap on the bottle, right? Do you mind if I borrow your bottle for a second? So I can fill this with water. I'll keep the water running, right? It's always running. But if I put the cap, can we put more water? No, so it's capped. There is no more that can come in here. In this case, the cap, in this particular example, the cap is 2%. All right? The water's still running all over. That means interest rates could be going up, index could be going up. It doesn't matter. The max that they can charge you is this, up to the cap. Is that good? Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to show you in a little bit that there's a different type of cap. In this cap, can we pour the water out and put more water? Can I pour this out and fill it up with more water?
yeah.
I can. So this particular cap changes at every single adjustment. It's the max that they can charge you in every single adjustment. 6 months later, we empty the bottle and we figure out what's the current interest rate, fill the bottle, or if it doesn't fill, then it's less. Good so far? So let me show you that. Let me give you an example. Hold. Okay, go. Tell me what it is.
Didn't in the last chapter we talk about the 60%?
So that is different, and we're talking, that's private lenders. We're talking about regular
Okay.
interest rates.
Just to make sure.
It wouldn't be Newark.
I have a question, actually. You said the index is
I keep
what
putting words in my mouth. I didn't say anything. Go ahead.
something about the index. Is that the prime rate or no? Not really.
What do you mean?
The prime rate.
The primary, yeah, what we call prime. It's
Okay.
whatever the loan is based off. Traditionally, it's based, let's go back up, on the US Treasury bills, traditionally.
Okay, that's
But there are loans based on LIBOR, so London index. There's loans based on whatever the S&P 500 is doing. There's loans based on Japan index. There's loans based on a bunch of stuff. The traditional loans, the Wall Street Journal predicts based on U.S. Treasury bills. Okay? But LIBOR is the most trusted one for adjustable rate mortgages. Or at least in that period of time, up to 2008, there's a lot of 6-month LIBOR rates, adjustable rate mortgages. Okay, so LIBOR is, again, London index. So instead of using the US, they use the British. Anyway, back to the cap. So we said here that the loan agreement may set a cap, which is, again, on every single adjustment, the max that I can fill that bottle of water. Good so far? Mm-hmm. The problem is, let's go right here. If the cap is on this adjustment, so we're looking right here, right? That's where it made a huge difference. So if we cut here, the 2%, comes with glitter. That's cute, right? So let's say this is the 2% adjustment, or cap. The question is, what happens to this part right here? What happens to this difference that we did not charge interest on?
The bank takes the loss, but then he charges you.
The bank might take a loss. So we're going to look at the three alternatives. What we're saying here so far is the max they can increase on any single adjustment is 2%. Good? So if we go back here, even though index is showing 10, the max that they can adjust here is an additional 2%. So we were at 4 at the time, right? So this is the true is 6. That means 12 is not the interest rate. The new interest rate is 8%. You guys got it? Because the max they could increase was 2. They couldn't go to 10. They could only go to 2. What's the difference between 12 and 2? I'm sorry, between 12 and 8? 4. What happens to this 4 that the bank is losing? It could be saved. No. No.
I'm just looking at my note. I'm listening.
But you're going to different pages. I just want to make sure you're with me. So, what can happen to the difference, the loss that the bank takes at every adjustment or gain that they get, right? In terms of loss, so the gain, there's a max that they can charge, but the loss they take on that one, it could be saved for the next adjustment. So when the market goes down, they say, hey, it didn't go down. Let's add what you lost before. Does that make sense so far? Uh-huh. So they just add to the next one. It could be, obviously, absorbed by the lender with no future consequences to the borrower, saying, hey, don't worry about it. We lose, you gain, we're all happy. Is the bank going to do that?
No. Never lose.
But it's an option. It says right there they could absorb that loss. Or the most common thing that they do is the shortfall, that -4 in my example, so the unpaid 1% of their example, could be added to the amount borrowed so that the principal would increase instead of decreasing. And this is called negative amortization.
Are they allowed to do that? To just
It's the 3 options.
Okay.
That has to be disclosed at the beginning, right?
Yes.
So,
All these are disclosed at the beginning. So let's say that this 4%, I'm going to explain to you guys what happened in the last couple of years. So this 4%, let's say it's equal in 6 months or adjustment period, let's say it's equal to $20,000. If your principal balance right now is 180, because you paid less than the interest required, they're going to add $20,000. So your principal, instead of going down in value, went up. So $200,000, congratulations, you did not pay enough. This is your new principal balance.
No lose.
Right? But this is the most common, and the reason why I go so slow here in this chapter is for you guys to understand this. You got to talk to your clients. We're the ones that negotiate loans for them as well. We're not the ones responsible for providing the loan, but we should talk to the mortgage people. We just did this the other day, right? Where you brought me a loan. She asked me about something to refinance, right? And I said, okay, let me look at it. I looked at it and I'm like, okay, there's something wrong here. These numbers don't add up. So I set her up with a mortgage professional, right? They spoke, and he's getting her extra savings. Why? Because she was getting put into the wrong type of loan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So good, that's great.
You see what I'm saying? It's not my job. It's not my monkey, right? Does that make sense? But because we are real estate consultants and mortgages happen to fall under real estate, because you don't buy a house without financing it most of the times, right? Let me help you out, Mr. Buyer. I don't think this is a good loan for you. Can we see if we can get a better option? You see what I'm saying? From there on, you throw them to the professional. If the professional cannot do better than what you already have, hey, it's okay. But if they can do better, what did you just gain? A loyal customer. A bunch of referrals. That's what you're looking for. Does that make sense? Even though it's not your monkey, not your problem, always try to understand these things. So, going back to what I was trying to say, and I'm going to show you a little bit more about this particular loan, which is horrible for a lot of people, for most people, right? Back in 2008, or up to 2008, there was a lot of loans like these that were sold. I'll explain why in a little bit. They were sold. And they were nothing was explained to the people. That, hey, you're starting off with 2% or 4% interest rate, and in a year or two from now, you're going to be at 8%. Nobody explained that to them. You guys understand? So these people were sending their payment at 4% was $2,000, let's say. A few years later, the payment is supposed to be $3,000 or $4,000, but they're still sending the 2. Because most people know the traditional way of making loan payments, which is like renting, flat fee, right? So they were just paying the $2,000, $2,000, $2,000. That means they were negative $1,000 every month. You guys with me? When 2009, 10, and 11, and even 12 came in, a lot of these adjustable rates reset. That means interest rates went even higher. They locked at the true rates. So we're going to talk about that better in a second. Okay? What happened? People realized in their bank statements, wait a minute, I've been paying for 5 years, and I owe more, right? I owe more than what I borrowed? Screw this, I'm out. And they stopped paying their mortgages altogether. Those mortgages are the majority of what we have right now in foreclosures. Do you guys understand this? All because this was not explained to the client that your rate is going to go up and down.
Those are still hanging around, guys.
Yeah. These were 30-year mortgages. These were given to people as long-term mortgages. What's the first thing I told you about adjustable rates? Short-term. Why? Because it's the lowest type of payment that you can have. Being the lowest type of payment you can have, it's good for investors. It's good for people that will not stay here for long. They're buying a house and maybe in a year or two they're out. You guys got it? Was this explained to the clients?
No.
And a lot of times it was, but they focus so much on the fact that it's low payment.
And right, what the actual payment, monthly payment will be.
Yeah.
And if they can-
So I'm going to show you guys what they should have done. Here's the thing. I told you there's a different cap, right? So let me show you the final features of this type of loan. So this should have been presented to the clients. Even though there's a cap at every adjustment, there's something called a ceiling or lifetime cap. Okay? Let me just show you what a ceiling or lifetime cap is, and I'll have you highlight in a second. You see how the index keeps on going up? Okay. Lifetime cap means, let me come up with orange. Lifetime caps means this. This is called ceiling. Okay? You see that index or interest rates keep on going up? Yes?
Yes.
But the ceiling is there. That means that it doesn't matter what happens to national rates, they could keep on going and skyrocketing, right? They cannot charge you more than what that ceiling is. So think about this, the cap in every single adjustment is like the drop ceiling, right here. But you guys know that above the drop ceiling, there's still another space that reaches the actual ceiling. Make sense?
Yeah.
Can we go above the actual ceiling?
The actual ceiling, no.
No. Drop ceiling, yeah. We can fit some stuff in there, like the light fixtures, the HVAC fixtures, all that stuff, right? But once we get to the ceiling, that's it. Can we have another floor on top? Maybe. But the ceiling is a ceiling. This room does not go any further up. Good?
Yeah.
Any questions so far? Great. Because that's what the ceiling is for, right here. Because it can't go any further, it allows us to calculate the worst case scenario. Because it cannot go any further. That's the lifetime ceiling. We started at floor. Lifetime ceiling says the worst that you're going to pay is 13%. Great. Because then it tells me up front. So you're asking if this is disclosed up front? Yeah, it tells me up front, Mr. or Mrs. Borrower, if you're in a 30-year mortgage for a loan of $150,000, it would cost you right now $1,100 a month. But if the national rates keep on going high, right, the worst that you're going to pay, the worst, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, the worst you're going to pay is $1,659 a month. So right now we're at $1,100. Once you start the loan, that's what it's going to be. Worst case scenario, $1,659.
And if it goes higher than that?
It won't. That's the worst. They cannot. By law, once that loan is structured, by law, they cannot alter it. So even if index goes up to 20%, they cannot go above the line, the ceiling.
And if they go, then...
You don't understand it. You can't. Period. Okay, that's it. No more.
And there's also no stipulation where they bring it on the back end, like you said
Ah.
earlier.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Very good question.
Okay, yeah, they got
That's a loss,
Oh, that's a loss for them.
which they can either add in the next
Okay.
adjustment.
Which they will.
Okay.
Can we ask them?
Now,
So you
traditionally,
got screwed still.
this is all disclosed up front,
All right.
but traditionally, okay, they all come with a clause about the negative amortization. They all come with that. And traditionally, they add no more than 15%. So if you borrowed $100,000, the worst that they can do is charge you $115,000. If you borrow $200,000, the worst they can do is $230,000. So it keeps on adding up like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's the max they can charge above what you borrowed. So you can also predict what's the worst case scenario there. The problem is that you could reach that level several times. As you pay down, go right back up. Pay down, go right back up. That's the problem. So is this a loan for long term?
No.
No.
So this is happening right now. So
What's happening is these loans are not being offered. But they were offered then.
yeah,
And these are 20, 30-year loans, even 40-year loans, some of these. So yes, they adjusted in 2012, most of them. Because most of them were 5-year fixed loans.
Can
And
you
when I
ask-
say fixed, it's because of this, the initial interest rate. They were fixed for 5 years, and this is called, I'll get you in a second, this is called teaser rate or artificially low rate. And it's really, as it says, to induce the borrower to enter into an agreement. It's kind of like, hey, want a cookie? Come, I'll get you a cookie.
You sound crazy.
This sign right here. I sound crazy? That's what it is. That's how they do
It
it.
is crazy.
They track you, they reel you in, right? They get you to sign something, and literally they'll be like this. I sound crazy? You should see some loan officers do this. Literally, like, it's only 5%.
No.
Tiffany's
I
paying
want
7.
a cookie.
Tiffany's paying 7. Everybody else is paying 7, 8, 9.
Oh, wow.
Come on, it's only 5%. Have the cookie.
I
Sign right
might
here.
accept it. That's the strange thing about it.
But do you understand what I'm saying? And they do this. And look, it's not just the loan officers. Realtors. There's a lot of realtors that did this too. Right? We already know kickbacks or monies from other people are illegal unless it's your cousin. So It's illegal. That's how we started, right? But that's what realtors were doing, partnering up with these mortgage people, because back then these loans were approved in one day, you could close the next day sometimes.
So,
That's how crazy it was. And then who was in on it? The realtor, getting paid on the side. Give me some money, right? On the side, like the wife on the side, remember that?
Yeah.
I don't forget stuff.
I didn't say I had a wife. You guys put me with
Travis, that's not what I said.
Okay.
Nobody's talking about your wife on the side, Travis. Putting you on live.
Blast.
Blast it
You
right
had the
there.
girlfriend and the wife on the side, right?
That's what it was.
I thought the girlfriend was on the side, not the
No,
wife.
the wife.
No, he has an active girlfriend, but then he married somebody on the side.
Just don't go on the camera, Travis.
I know. Hopefully nobody knows my voice.
Right. It's all a joke, people. Cannabis Kevin.
That's a nice transition.
you know how you were saying there was 30-year AR the adjustable rate mortgages? They were offered.
Ours, yeah.
Okay, they were offered 30 years for that.
Mhm.
So you know how you said sometimes the bank would take a loss and they would put that towards the principal. At those 30 years, if there was unpaid principal,
It'll be a balloon.
okay. Wait, so
So your final payment will be even higher.
really?
Yeah, it's a balloon. Almost all of these will fall under a balloon because your payment does not fully amortize. So if you're sending less than what's needed to amortize, that's why they add on to the
So
principal.
basically, after the 30 years, and the bank's missing 20,000, the borrower has to pay the 20,000.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're going to see your principal increase every month.
Can you refinance
You can.
right there?
Some of these you can even convert to fixed rates.
That's what my question did answer. No, my question is, after you finish paying, then you can refinance, of course. But if you're in the middle of it, in the 15-year, for example, can you just?
Some plans come with a convertibility. But some say they're fixed for 5 years, and then at the end of 5 years, you're able to convert. But you have a convertibility period. So the convertibility period is not for the whole 30 years.
For
It's
the
like-
remaining, right?
So it's like you reach right here, the third, fourth, or fifth year. Okay? So let's say you have a 5-year fixed rate of 5%.
Mhm.
After that, it goes to traditional rates, whatever the market is doing. So let's say the market is doing 9%. At the 5th year, at 5%, it's going to reset, but you have the option to convert it to a fixed rate, which then if the fixed rates are at 6%, that's where you will stay for 30 years. If you don't convert, then it stays adjustable for the remainder. And then the only way out is to refinance. So the loan itself might have the convertibility option, where you don't need to refinance, you just jump right to the other side.
So if you're doing arms, for example, right? Then can you change the ceiling?
The ceiling,
The ceiling.
if I can change the ceiling?
Yeah, you can change the ceiling. You
The ceiling, okay, let's get this straight. Cap,
Uh-huh.
ceiling, margin. These do not change over the lifetime of the loan.
Okay.
The cap could be 2%, could be 1%, could be 5%. It's set up front, does not change for the lifetime of the loan. The ceiling could be 3%, 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever. But once it's set up front, does not change for the lifetime of the loan. The margin, whatever they charge you, is 2% above index, 3% above index, or even 0.5% above index. Could be any way, shape, or form. But once it's set in the beginning of the loan, these three never change. What changes is the stock market, the index, up and down. You got it? What changes is the opportunity to convert. Those are the only things that might change in the lifetime of the loan.
What converts? I'm sorry.
This, where you can convert from adjustable to fixed rate. Again, at the anniversary or whatever it is they set up for you.
If I do to the fixed rate, you have to go back to to arms, right? Or no?
I'm sorry?
Because you're saying that the, for the adjustable rate, then in the anniversary you can either change to a fixed rate, but then the fixed rate you have to go back to the adjustable rate, or you can.
No,
just stay
once you convert
because
to
you said for the years it's not gonna stick forever.
no. The 5-year fixed is called the teaser rate. They lock it, so the adjustment period for the teaser rate, they lock it for a year, 2 years, maybe even 5 years. It's locked. That means for the first 5 years, you don't see any changes in your loan. After 5 years, you start seeing the changes. But most of these loans come with a convertibility option where at that anniversary, you can convert your loan from adjustable to fixed.
Okay.
So you don't have to deal with a headache of how much am I going to pay tomorrow. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what it is. You convert it. Once you convert, it's for the lifetime of the loan.
Even for the adjustable?
That's what I'm
Like
telling you. Okay, wait,
So
time out.
in 5
You are in an adjustable. You want to get out of the adjustable. You can convert to fixed and it stays.
For the rest of
That's
the
it.
15 years?
Yeah.
Or whatever years.
Whatever years it is set up in this structure.
And if you do another adjustable rate, you can, like if you do a 5 years, then you can change again in 5 years, right?
I'm not understanding why would you do another adjustment? What is your question? Sorry.
You can do it 5 years, and then you still want to go back to the adjustable. You don't want to do a fixed.
Why would you go back to adjustable?
I
Still
don't
not
know. I'm
understanding.
asking. Like some people are crazy and they want to do. Some people want to do it. Like
No.
you can you do like 5 years and then you're like, okay, let me do 5 more years, and then you do it, and then you with 10 years.
Once
and
you
you're like,
convert
okay, let
to
me go back.
fixed, you can only refinance. If you refinance into a product that is adjustable, different story. Why would you do that? Yes, you're crazy.
Not me.
Uh-huh. Next.
But you didn't answer my question still.
What do you
Can
mean?
you change in 10 years?
The loan structure itself, it's either 5 years fixed
Uh-huh.
with adjustable for 25, or 3 years fixed with adjustable for 27, or 2 years fixed with adjustable for 28, or 1 year fixed with adjustable for 29.
So you can keep changing.
You change once. That's the convertibility option.
Okay.
You change once to get out of it, and then it stays for the remainder of the term.
Got it.
Could you refinance and get into another crazy loan? Yes.
And just, yeah, I got it.
Good. Yes. Questions? No?
No, I'm thinking of my nose right now.
And then in 5 minutes, it's going to be like, hey, on page 1. I'm sorry, that's why I try to bring you back always to, to the class. All right, assumability. You guys know what it means to assume a loan, right?
Yep.
That means to take over somebody's payments. Some ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages, are assumable. That's all you need to know. Some ARMs are assumable.
Want that. I don't want that.
You don't want that, but they are. So there are some crazy people that will take it. Hybrid mortgages, obviously, what is something that's hybrid? Mix of two, right? So like I said, some adjustable rates come with an initial fixed rate and then go to adjustable. It's a hybrid, it's a mix of two. And then we have interest rate loans. I'm sorry, interest-only loans. If I want you to write in front of this, I want you to write short term as well. Short term.
There was one that said straight line.
What you say?
Straight payment plan. What happened? There was one that said straight payment plan. Is this what it's talking about?
What did you say?
It's similar. It's similar.
What did you say to her?
Short term. They're laughing because I said that L would go back. to page
Wait,
1.
no, I just remembered.
But in this case, she remembered something. In this case, you just remembered something. All right. So here is just short term. Because again, these are high risk loans, just like adjustable. Think about it. If it's interest only, what are you paying every month? Just interest. What happens to the principal? Nothing. So that means at the end of 30 years, what do you owe? Everything. You guys got it?
This is kind of like hard
So
money.
you're just buying time, pretty much.
Yeah, so private lending or hard money is usually traditionally interest only, yes. But because they are short term. Again, interest only, short term. Don't be like a friend of mine, ex-employee of mine, that what they did is they got a 30-year interest only on $400,000 mortgage. 10 years later, how much did they owe?
4,000.
400,000.
Whatever, then.
And the market had crashed. and their house was now worth $350, more or less. All they paid,
For 10 years?
yeah, 10 years. And they got an offer of almost $1 million on their house at one point. Like right now, people are offering almost $1 million on their houses here. And people are like, oh, I'm going to hold on a little bit longer.
No.
Prices are going up, almost $1 million, I'll sell. When market crashes, they're going to be like,
What it should have done.
yeah. Anyway, so that's what happens. If prices stop rising or even fall, owners who had to sell might find themselves underwater or upside down. What does that mean? Owing more than the house will bring in a sale.
Why did you sell it?
All right, cool. So an hour and 30 minutes, we're good. We're going to give you a quick break, and we're going to go into interest right after.
What's an hour and 30 minutes?
That's how much we've been here, so I'm going to give you a quick break.
Okay.
It's an hour and 30 minutes.
An hour 30 left.
No.
And an
that's
hour,
not what it means.
you get 2 hours
That's not
left.
what that- No.
Whoever's watching from home, we'll be right back after the